Duly moved and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. So does anybody have a conflict of interest with the agenda? So noted, Dean is declaring a conflict on the Wasman drain, I believe. So we'll note that when it comes to that. Anybody else? Okay. So the consent agenda is there. There is 5 no, there's 5 items there, the consent agenda. Anything there that anybody would like clarified or pulled or dealt with separately? Okay, if not, then a motion that we accept the consent agenda would be in order. Moved by Councillor Harold, seconded by Councillor Murray. Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Okay, now the first one here is consideration of the Haggerty Drain Report. And this is a public meeting. We need a motion, Carla, to go into this meeting?
No, we do not. This is being heard by all of council.
I didn't think we did, but better ask. Always better to be safe than sorry. So tonight we'll be holding 3 considerations of report to discuss the technical aspects of drainage project. Council will entertain questions regarding the work proposed in the report and for the total cost of the work. Complaints regarding individual assessments will not be dealt with at tonight's meeting. Should council accept the report of a provisional bylaw, should council accept the report, provisional bylaw is passed and at another meeting of the Court of Revision will be held. The Court of Revision has authority only to hear appeals against assessments. It has no authority to otherwise change the engineer's report. If somebody wishes to appeal their assessment, they may do so by filing a notice with the clerk at least 10 days prior to the first sitting of the Court of Revision. Notice of the Court of Revision will be mailed to everyone assessed into the drain. The first consideration of report is for the Haggerty Branch 3. I now invite Joel Miller from K Smart and Associates to come forward, and I'm looking and I don't see. Should I see him, Carla?
Yes, Joel, if you just want to wave.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, there he is, right in the middle. Okay, thank you, Joel.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm just an engineer with a nondescript blue shirt on, so here.
Oh, well, you're blending in with everybody else, obviously. Okay, I'll just turn the meeting over to you.
Excellent. Thank you, Mayor McKenzie. So I'll just briefly provide a few comments about this project and then open it up for any questions that folks may have. So again, my name is Joel Miller, and I worked with my my colleague Curtis McIntyre here at K Smart Associates on this report that's under Section 78 of the Drainage Act to improve Haggerty Drain Branch 3. And the impetus for the project came about from a request by Terry Maloney to improve the open ditch portion of the drain that's across his property. He'd like to enclose it in a tile. So in spring 2019, we had an on-site meeting with the key landowners in the area of the improvement request, and brought the project to their attention, asked the folks who attended if they had any additional requests or specific information for us to keep in mind as we prepared the report and worked on our design. And I think what I'll do at this point is attempt to project to everyone involved the watershed map. So if you're not able to see that, you can just go ahead and say so, but otherwise I'll just have this in front of us for referral purposes as I speak. So again, lot 3 is the property, and part of lot 4 is what's owned by Terry Maloney. And so this is the Haggerty Drain Branch 3, which is currently an open ditch down to its junction with the main drain. The top end is already enclosed. So Maloney's objective was to enclose the drain across his property. At our on-site meeting, the WAGs were also represented, and they own lot 4. And they also requested that the enclosure be continued downstream if possible across their farm. And John Van Worsel was also present, who said that the ditch portion of the drain on his property ought to be cleaned out, and there was a culvert on his property that needed to be lengthened. So in any case, those are some of the key bits of input we received early on. Once we did our survey, we found that the open ditch portion of the drain downstream of Road 155 was in good condition, had good fall, on grade, and the same was true for the road culvert at 155. So we didn't see Road 155. We didn't see any need to continue our recommendations downstream of Road 155. And so this report recommends a ditch cleanout across lot 5 and then ditch enclosure across lots 3 and 4, which is the WAG property, and then Terry Maloney upstream of that on lot 3. So there's about 160 hectares involved. Once we worked up our design, which includes a 27-inch tile on the WAG property and then a 24-inch tile across the Maloney farm, we submitted to environmental agencies for review. So it went to DFO, it went to Upper Thames, and it went to MECP to review. And those reviews came back with thumbs up, no significant concerns or objections, and need for some sediment control and erosion measures to be part of our report. That was then the crux of the feedback we got from the agencies. And as we enclose the drain, of course, there will be a overland swale provided for flow to follow in the event that the capacity of the pipes is exceeded. And so once we'd worked up the design and the agencies had given us a thumbs up during the winter, we then, instead of having an information meeting with all the landowners like we normally would, in light of public meeting restrictions, we sent information packages to the landowners in the watershed and then followed up with phone calls or emails, sometimes both, to go through the design, go through the assessments that are in the report with each of the landowners, and receive any input or feedback from them at that time. So all of those interactions proceeded late spring, early summer. Then we finalized our report in the summer and filed it with the township. I spoke today with Mr. Maloney about the report specifically, and there were no concerns or objections that he had in regards to what's in the report. He was involved in the WAGs and Van Worsels and others along the way. So people are aware of what's in the report. And so just to sum up, we're looking at about 500 meters of ditch cleanout, a little over 1,000 meters of tile drain. Estimated cost is around $250,000 total, $253,500. And 94% of the project cost is being borne by the two properties that are requesting the enclosure. So the WAG property again and Mr. Maloney. So and the township's portion on this is just a small bit of outlet assessment for Road 150 at the top end of the watershed. So it's just over $100 is the township's portion in this particular project. And I believe with that, I'll wrap up my comments. Essentially, we're doing a ditch enclosure, and if there are any questions at this time, I'm happy to entertain those. I don't believe your microphone has been turned back on.
See, I'm not an engineer, so yeah. Anyways, I don't believe there's any ratepayers online. So I would say if there's any questions from council, and I don't have everybody's face up on my screen now because we have the drainage map up there. So if you could stop sharing your screen, I can see if there's anybody.
I'll stop sharing.
There we go. Okay, now I can see if anybody has a question, they can put their hand up or whatever. Is there any questions with regards to the Haggerty drain? Okay, seeing none, and I'm just having one quick look, and there's no ratepayers there either that I'm aware of. So resolution here then that the Council of Municipality of West Perth accept the report from Skate K-Smart Associates Limited dated July 31st for the Haggerty Drain Branch 3, and that the quarter revision will be set for Monday, October the 5th, 2020, and the tender will be let. So we just need a mover and a seconder to accept that report then. Councillor Rose and Councillor Harold. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Good. Thank you, Joel. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Okay, the second and third consideration of reports will be presented by Paul McIntyre from Burnside and Associates. The first presentation will be with regards to the Wasman Municipal Drain, and I note that Councillor Tinkowski has declared a conflict on this particular drain. So I'm looking for Paul. There's Paul. I see him. So I'll just turn the meeting over to you, Paul. You must be muted. I can't hear you. Suggestions, Carla.
My suggestion right now, Paul, can you hear us? Give us the thumbs up if you can hear us. What I'm going to do, Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind, we can ask Councillor Trentowski to come back, and maybe we can move forward to the quarter revision, and offline Justine can see if she can assist Paul.
Okay. All right. Okay. So quarter revision. Nicholas, you look after that one. So I'll turn that one over to you.
I think we need a
If we just
motion.
want to
Yep.
adjourn the
We need a
council
motion.
meeting, sorry.
Pardon,
We'll
Carla?
adjourn the council meeting to go into the close, and if you can just
Okay.
give me 5 seconds to get Councillor Trentowski to come back.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Dean, if you're in the other room, come on back. In the meantime, a motion that we adjourn our council meeting at 7:14 and open the quarter revision. Moved by Councillor Matheson, seconded by Councillor Vink. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. So we'll just wait a second for Dean to come back, I guess.
Okay.
Remind me who's on quarter revision, not me.
It's myself and Cheryl and Sherry and Dean. So I'll call the quarter revision for the drains B and F of the Miller drainage work hereby convene at 7:15. Welcome to the meeting. The purpose of the quarter revision under the Drainage Act for the drains B and F of the Miller drains work is to hear and make decisions on appeals to the engineer's report dated February 4th, 2020. Members of the quarter revision are legally required to act fairly and impartially, whether they declare this publicly as an oath or not. Any declarations of pecuniary interest by members of the court shall be brought forward at this time. So some housekeeping. So we'll clean up the minutes from the previous quarter revisions. So could I have a mover and a seconder to approve the minutes of the August 12th, 2019 quarter revision, the September 16th, 2019 quarter revision for the Maxwell drains, and the September 16th, 2019 McDonald municipal drain quarter revisions. And finally, the March 16th, 2020 quarter revision that we adopt all of those. Sherry and Dean, all those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Carla, was there any written or correspondence objections received for the drains B and F for the Miller drainage works?
No, notice was sent on August 19th to all landowners assessed, and no correspondence was received to date.
Thank you. Questions from the members of the quarter revision? Questions from landowners? Any objections? Now would be the time to make an objection to the assessment at this meeting. All right, then could I have somebody to move that the Court of Revision approve the schedules of assessment as outlined in the report by Spreat Associates dated February 4th, 2020? Anna Marie and Dean, all those in favor? That's carried. And adjournment at 7:17 by 2 people, please. Anna Marie and Cheryl. All those in favor? It's adjourned.
Okay, thank you, Nicholas.
You're welcome.
So we'll go back and let's just see how we're working here. So we want consideration. Actually, maybe if we can, it's the same players. Why don't we go to the Wiles main drain? Same people involved, right, Carla?
Do you mean the same engineer? It's
Same engineer, right?
yes, on both. So yeah, we can do.
So Dean wouldn't have to leave just yet then? He could stay for this drain?
That's correct.
Yeah, so is that okay if we just shift that one around and deal with it now?
Yeah, that works great.
Okay, well, I wouldn't know if it works great or not. We'll see if we can get Paul on here, how good it works. Okay, let's, and that's probably throwing a wrench into Paul because he was probably figuring on doing the other one first, but Paul, let's, if we can do the Wiles main drain. And is there people, some ratepayers that we need to bring on for that one, Carla?
So we should have on the Wiles main drain, Ryan Anderson.
Okay, I see his name there. Okay. And that's the only one.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay. Do we have sound for Paul? I see he's still muted. He's muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, Paul. Very good.
Okay. Do you see the plan of the Wiles Drain Anderson branch up at this point?
Yes.
You see it?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I'm Paul McIntyre. I'm with Burnside Engineering in Stratford. I was appointed by council to write a report for the Wiles Municipal Drain and Anderson Branch improvement. And I'll go over it very briefly and then turn it back to you, Mayor Mackenzie, and council for questions. So Appendix H of our report has the plan and profile. So we'll start with the plan. It is up on the screen. You can just follow along briefly if you like. The watershed of the Wiles Municipal Drain is the heavy dark line. I don't know if you can see my cursor as I follow it around, but it's the heavy dark line that has the dotted shading on the interior. So this drainage watershed includes the Penner property in Perth South. It includes the Anderson property in West Perth, the Froud property in West Perth, the Diactus and Laverty property in Perth South, the Hodson property in Perth South, and the Parnham property in Perth South. That's the heavy dark line. Everything within that heavy dark line is included in the watershed. The actual municipal drain is the dark dash line that is in the center of the screen, with catch basins indicated in these dark squares. The Anderson branch runs parallel to line 12 in West Perth. If we can move on to the profile. The profile, if it come up on your screen, shows a cross section through the drain. If you were to cut the drain on the ground and look at it sideways, you can see what it looks like and how deep it is. So the gray line along the profile shows the drain itself, the tile drain itself. The existing drain is shown in here kind of lightly. It's shown in a lot shallower than the proposed drain. And then the upper line is the ground surface. Along the bottom, we show the tile sizes that are included in this drain. So we start with a proposed clean out of the open ditch section of the Wiles municipal drain. And then we have a section of 525 millimeter concrete drain tile that's 21 inch. We cross line 12 with 21 inch HDPE, that's heavy duty polyethylene plastic tile. Then in the Anderson property, we run parallel to line 12 with 350 millimeter concrete drain pipe. That's 14 inch. We cross the Anderson laneway with 15 inch heavy duty polyethylene pipe. And then we complete the drain in West Perth as 300 millimeter concrete tile, and then crossing the road again back into Perth South with 300 millimeter HDPE. That's the watershed and the drain in profile. If we move on to the cost estimate, if you want to follow along, I'll give you an idea of what the cost has been estimated at. So the total drain construction is estimated at $70,840. I've included some contingency items in this drain of $6,590. For total construction cost estimate of $77,430. Engineering component of the report is $34,800. The administration portion of the report, including allowances and interest and taxes, of $27,420 for total project cost of $139,650. We go now to the construction assessment, and this is in Appendix C of the report. Again, you'll notice that $139,650 is the total cost of the drainage project, and that is broken down into assessments to the individual properties in West Perth and in Perth South. So the total costs, or the total estimates or total assessments, are located on the right-hand side of that column on that report. And if you have a hard copy of the report, I included net assessments for the owners. So the net assessments would be these assessments less the 1/3 grant provided by the provincial government and any allowances that would be afforded to the properties. So lastly, I'm going to look at the schedule of assessment for maintenance. So I have produced a schedule assessment for maintenance. So if at any point the drain is repaired, it can easily be assessed out to the owners based on these numbers in these columns. And I've broken it down to the main drain section in Perth South, and then the Anderson branch section in West Perth. So those total 100% for each one. That is in general the report, in a very, very fast summary report. I have spoken, we've had meetings with the owners, and I have spoken with them since the second meeting. And this is the report. I open it up and turn it back to you, Mayor McTavish, or Mayor McKenzie, for questions.
Okay, thank you, Paul. And I'll maybe just get you to stop sharing your screen so that I can see everybody here. Okay. Now, do we have any questions from any of the landowners? And I see we have Ryan Anderson on. Not sure if there was any questions at all. Not hearing anything. Is there any questions from any members of council on regards to this particular drain? There's
Mayor
Ryan.
McKenzie?
Yes.
It looks like Ryan Anderson is now on the video.
Okay. Yep. I see him there now. So Ryan, you have any comments with regards to this drain?
My only question is of section 7.1.3 about the drain abandonment on lot 14, concession 14. It states that the abandoned drain will be connected. but there's not a lot of detail on how it will be connected, whether it's at one end or both ends. I was just wondering about some clarification.
Okay, Paul, can you answer that question?
Yes, can you hear me? Am I back on?
Yes, yep, we can hear
Okay.
you.
So the existing drain, as Ryan pointed out, I think, just a sec. We get back into, I have to share the screen. Can you see the screen or have to
You'll
share
have to
screen?
share it, I guess.
There we go. Will you see it now?
Yep.
Okay, so the existing drain that Ryan's talking about is the section that curves up in the Anderson property and then comes back down to meet the end of the drain in the Froud property. So we are bypassing that by running parallel to the road, line 12. So that's the section that's going to be abandoned. And it's only abandoned for future maintenance purposes. That drain will still be there. It'll still collect the tile, systematic tile from the Anderson property, but it will be connected at this location, which is where it crosses the road at station 7+ or 714. And it won't be connected here because that's the top end. There won't be any need for it to be connected there. But when we disconnect it, it'll make it work a lot better, that existing drain, but it'll be private. We have left a stub in the catch basin at the laneway, and there could be a private connection made at that location if there was ever anything wrong or something happened to that abandoned drain.
So does that answer your question, Ryan?
That's great. Thank you.
Okay, all right. If you can stop sharing your screen again, thank you. Any further questions? That answers all you had, Ryan?
Yep, that's the only question I have.
Okay. Any questions from members of council? Okay, seeing none, we do have a resolution here then that Municipality of West Perth accept the report from RJ Burnside and Associates dated August 2020 for the Wiles Main Drain and Anderson Branch improvement, and that the quarter revision be set for Monday, October the 5th, 2020, and the tender be let. So do we have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Matheson and Councillor Trinkowski. Any further questions on that drain? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, now we'll backtrack and we will do the Wasman drain, and Dean is declaring a conflict again on that one. So, and Paul is the engineer on that one. So, I think this is the reading of the report. So I'm just going to turn it over to Paul. Do we have any landowners on this one, Carla? I don't think we do we?
Yes, we do. We have Matthias Winnica.
Okay, very good. All right. Okay. All right.
Okay,
Paul,
if I can share my screen again. Again, I'm Paul McIntyre. I was appointed by the municipality to write a report for the repair and improvement of the Wasman Municipal Drain. I've shown here the watershed of the Wasman Municipal Drain. And again, the drainage watershed is a heavy dark line encompassing the properties within the drainage watershed. In this case, there was an existing drain that was constructed in 1977. That existing drain is the light green or fluorescent green drain on line on your plan. And the proposed drain for this report is the teal colored or the blue colored line on your plan. And the squares on that plan show the catch basins. So the properties that are contained within the watershed are the Siemens properties in concession 9, part of the Snyder's property in concession 9, the Winneke property in concession 10, And it's interesting to know, or it should be noted, that the hatched line section on the Winnicki property is area that is outside of the watershed, but it has been tile drained into the watershed. So we consider that for the size of our tile, and we consider that for the assessment of that property. We usually look at that at half the rate of full property within a watershed. So the drain also encompasses part of the Duncan property in concession 11 and the 2 Trendkowski properties in concession 10. If we move on to the profile, we can see that the heavy dark line on the profile is the proposed drain. In behind it, you can see a lighter line that is the existing drain on both of those 2 profiles. The dotted line above is the ground profile. The lines along the bottom is the stationing, so how long the drain is. And then the numbers up in the top are the depth of the drain, proposed drain, to the ground surface. So again, we look at the size of the proposed drain in this case. We've got 750 millimeter tile on the Siemens farm. That's 30-inch. And then when we turn and cross right across the Siemens property, still 30-inch tile till we get up and into the Trendkowski farm with 30-inch tile. Then we can drop it down to a 600 millimeter or a 2-foot, 24-inch tile to the top end of the drain, and that is at the property line between Trendkowski and Winnicki. These tiles up here at the top are private tiles. They were there prior to 1977 when the last report was written. If we move on to the cost estimate, we can see that, let's get it to the right size, sorry, there we go. The total cost of construction has been estimated at $217,800. Contingency allowances of $11,000 for the construction, for a total estimated construction costs of $228,800. The engineering component for the report is $68,500. The administration component, including allowances and interest and taxes, is $72,255 for a total estimated project cost of $369,555. We look at the assessment summary for construction. Again, that $369,555 is down at the bottom. The total assessments against the individual properties are shown on the right-hand side with breakdowns of benefit assessment and outlet assessment. It's interesting to know, and I'll point out that the MTO, Ministry of Transportation, has been assessed $99,987 as a benefit assessment. In the report, that is described as a benefit by cutoff. So instead of going out onto the highway property where the drain used to be prior to 1977, we are keeping the drain on the Siemens farm and assessing the benefit by cutoff to the road authority. The last page is, again, the maintenance assessment schedule. And I've broken it down again for ease of your drainage superintendent to do maintenance assessments or to do maintenance repairs. So the first section of the drain is from 0 to 610. Second section is 610 to 1340, and the top section 1340 to 2325. I've also included a maintenance assessment for branch A, even though branch A is not being built or rebuilt in this report. Your drainage superintendent can maintain the whole drain based on this new and updated schedule. That is a brief summary of my report, and I turn it back to you, Mayor McKenzie, for questions.
Thank you, Paul. So at this time, I'll ask if Mr. Wenicky has any questions with regards to this drain. There we are. You're muted yet. There you go.
No questions at this time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Questions from council? An expensive drain, but it is very flat in there. Fairly level across through there. So that explains probably the reason for that. Okay, if there is no further questions, I have a resolution here that we accept the report from RJ Burnside and Associates dated June 2020 for the Wasman Municipal Drain Improvement, and that the quarter revision be set for Monday, October the 5th, 2020, and the tender will be let. Do we have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Rose and Councillor Bell. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you. So the only comment I had, Paul, is that under the roads, I don't know why you couldn't have billed the MTO 108 or 109,000, and they would never know the difference.
Well, a very, very good point, because they certainly never called and asked about this assessment. So that may be the case.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
A motion to what am I trying to think of here? To end the public meeting on the drain meeting.
We never had a motion to go in. I think it was just part
Yes,
of.
we did, didn't we?
So
No, we're just looking to.
We're good.
there was a-
Okay. All right. Thank
for-
you. Thank you, Nicholas. Because I have here public meeting. I guess that's what makes me think. Okay. All right, moving on. Okay, we have a public meeting for a zoning bylaw amendment. So we should adjourn our council meeting at 7:39 for the public meeting with regards to this zoning bylaw amendment. So do we have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Murray and Councillor Marshall, thank you. All those in favor? Okay, so we do have Adam Petrich, I think, coming on side as our planner. Thank you. There's Adam. And I assume that we have Andrew Phillips is probably here as well for this one. And I believe we have a couple other people from Anderson's and Silvite possibly, maybe. So I'm going to just turn it over to Adam and let you walk through us with this one, okay?
Thank you, Your Worship. I do believe Carla might start us off with the
Oh, just a
statutory.
minute. All right. No, okay. We'll do it. We'll do it this way. All right. So the meeting we did call to order at whatever it was, 7:38 or 39. And it's in accordance with section 34 of the Planning Act. Is there anybody here with a conflict of interest by any member of council? Okay, seeing none. At this time, I'll ask Carla to talk about the purpose of the meeting.
Okay, thank you. The purpose of this public meeting of the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of West Perth is to review applications for proposed amendments to Bylaw 100/1998, the zoning bylaw of the Municipality of West Perth, and to allow interested members of the public the opportunity to ask questions or offer comments with regard to the applications. Council will not make a decision on the applications at this public meeting. Based on the recommendations and information received at this public meeting, amending zoning bylaws will be presented for approval at a regular council meeting. If any member of the public would like to be notified in writing of the decision on the applications, they are to provide their name and mailing address and email to the clerk this evening via email at clerk@westperth.com. A person or public body may appeal a decision if they have made an oral submission at this public meeting or written submission to council prior to the passing of the bylaws.
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, this is a public meeting for a zoning bylaw amendment. The application was initiated by property owner 2729988 Ontario Inc. and affects the property described as lots 103, 104, and Plan 118, Plan 315, being part 1 on 44R 1167 Hibbert Ward. I will now ask Carla how notice was given.
Notice was given by mail to all landowners within 120 meters of the land affected by the bylaw and to those agencies as prescribed by regulation. A sign advertising tonight's meeting was posted on the property August 12th, 2020. In response to the circulation and posting of the notice, the following correspondence was received and included in the circulated agenda package. And that was from Sauble Bayfield Conservation Authority, seeing no objection, and Jeff Croonan. There was a question regarding the project.
Okay, thank you. So at this time, I will call upon Adam Bettridge, planner for the Municipality of West Perth, to review the application. Adam?
Thank you very much, Mayor Mackenzie. Good evening, members of council. So the subject application involves a former chicken processing plant in Dublin. The site was formerly been tied to lagoon lands outside of Dublin on a farm parcel to the east. It's connected to those lagoon lands with a forest sanitary main. The lands were formerly owned by Safina. They've, as council is aware, they've recently purchased and have moved their operations to Mitchell down on Frank Street, and are no longer utilizing the operation in Dublin. And they've recently sold the properties, both the lagoon lands to the east and the subject property that we're dealing with tonight's zoning amendment in Dublin. So the clerk did speak to Mr. Croonan's comments that he submitted about in response to the application for the zoning bylaw amendment, and the forest main runs through his farm. So he's the farm owner in between the lagoon lands to the east and the subject property. And he's asking that the zoning bylaw amendment be deferred to deal with that forest main. I will speak to that in a few moments. So the current application tonight, and I do believe that the applicant's agent is in attendance, would permit the subject site to be used as an interim use for warehousing and storage, but also subject the property to the general M1 or light industrial uses, subject to a holding provision, which would require, prior to any of those future uses to occur, that a site plan agreement be reviewed and considered by West Perth prior to any of those future uses being established. And that process would allow us to ensure that any mitigation or any matter with regards to noise, odor, dust, whatever the future use might be, is properly reviewed and mitigation measures put in place to make sure that any impacts on to neighboring properties would be reduced, if even reduced entirely. So I may turn it over to the applicant's agent to speak to further. However, I did state that I would speak about the forest main in consultation with the chief building official. The municipality is in review and in discussions with the property owner with regards to the capping of the sanitary forest main and the remediation of that forest main. So Mr. Croonan has asked for the zoning bylaw amendment to be deferred. It's the opinion of the chief building official that is being worked on at this time with the current property owner. Any future use, including the interim use, will be subject to a change of use permit through the building department, and any requirements that would be required for the forest main could be secured through that process. So it's the opinion of the chief building official that a deferral of the zoning bylaw amendment is not necessary. We do have the means necessary to ensure those requirements that Mr. Croonan seeks to have completed are indeed completed. So a deferral of the zoning bylaw amendment as requested is, in the opinion of the CBO, and I do concur with the chief building official, not needed at this time. So I may, unless there's any further questions from council, I will turn it over to the applicant's agent, Andrew Phillips, to perhaps speak further to this application.
Thanks, Adam. So Andrew, do you wish to add a little at this time? I think you're muted, Andrew.
How about now?
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you. Yes, thank you, Mayor McKenzie. I'm here as agent for the property owner. I think Mr. Betteridge has laid it out exactly correctly. Agree with the contents of his report. I'm happy to hear that a deferral is not being recommended. I think we can move forward and deal with whatever issues there may be through the change of use process. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but I don't have anything to add.
Okay, well, at this time, then maybe I'll ask, and there's some people on here, but I'm not sure. I don't think they have anything to do with this particular application, but is there anybody wishing to speak in support of this application? Is there anybody opposed to this application? And Andrew's acting as the agent for this particular application. So we've heard from him. Any general comments or questions from council? Deputy Mayor Wright.
Just to Adam, I have a question. Like, who's responsible for that pipe in the ground? Safina from before, or the new gentleman that owns it? I've had this question asked before, you can imagine. It runs across a private property. And so can you enlighten or not out here right now?
Sure, your worship. Unfortunately, I don't believe I have all the information to know who is obligated to have the pipe removed. I did receive confirmation from the chief building official that I believe in what the chief building official advised me today is that there are securities in place to have the pipe removed, and I could not confirm what securities those were held by or what, but I was made aware that the municipality is in review with the applicant or Safina to have the pipe removed, and that BM Ross on behalf of the municipality will be ensuring that the forest main is properly remediated.
Okay, I think Jeff has something to add at this time.
Yeah, I'll just add that there are a number of parties that are involved here, and we've identified who those parties are, and we've asked for a meeting with the parties to confirm what work has been done to terminate or to decommission the line, and we need as-built and things. So that meeting is, we haven't got it scheduled yet, but it's been requested, and we anticipate that it will happen in the near future. And as far as identifying parties, it's unclear whether it's a Safina, if it's a Safina project, or whether Safina is just pushing it along, but it's not their project. So that meeting will involve identifying parties and coming up with a plan.
Deputy Mayor Wright?
And just as a follow-up, they would also take the pipe out under the municipality's property in the town of, in the village of Dublin also. It wouldn't just stay there. It would also be removed.
It's a good question. We haven't determined whether we would, so there is a pipe running under the municipal property, there's a pipe running under 2 private properties, and then there's the properties at the 2 terminal ends, the end where the lagoon is and the end where the building is. We haven't come up with a plan about whether the project would involve removing the pipe or whether it would involve some other kind of permanent decommissioning of the pipe so that it couldn't backflow. That our interest is that it doesn't backflow and that there's no risk of that backflow occurring. And we also have to determine if there's any older infrastructure there like previous pipes. So that's the work that we'll be doing on this project to protect the parties for the future.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff. Any other questions from anybody? Seeing none, I would like to thank those in attendance for their comments. Should council proceed with the adoption of the zoning bylaw amendment, notice of passing will be provided as prescribed by the Planning Act, and a 20-day appeal period to the local planning appeal tribunal exists. So thank you very much. Our second public meeting tonight is a zoning bylaw amendment, and the application was initiated by property owner Anderson's Canada Limited and affects the property described as part of Lot 1, Concession 1, 3948 Road 168 of the Hibbert Ward. And I'll ask Carla how notice was given.
Notice was given by mail to all landowners within 120 meters of the land affected by the bylaw and to those agencies as prescribed by regulation. A sign advertising tonight's meeting was posted on the property August 12th, 2020. In response to the circulation and posting of the notice, there has been no correspondence received to date.
Okay, I will again call on Adam Betridge, planner for the municipality of West Perth, to review this report.
Thank you, Your Worship. The subject site's the site of an agricultural, commercial, industrial operation owned by Andersons. There's been an agreement made with another operator for a portion of the site to be conveyed to and operated by Silvite. There's no physical changes to the property that are proposed. There's nothing at this time being built or constructed. The site will remain as is, but it's proposed to be severed. The applicant's agent from IBI Group, John Aarons, is in attendance and can speak further to the application. But what I've stated in my planning report, this is associated with a county severance, and a lot of the logistics and requirements for that severance to occur will be reviewed by West Perth Council and considered at a future meeting. It's expected to occur on September 21st with a report from the county planning department. The zoning will establish some 0-yard setbacks as a result of the newly established lot line. And although setbacks have intent and purpose in our zoning bylaw amendment, such will be alleviated by the use of a reciprocal access easement and blanket easement for servicing and allow movement of trucks and deliveries to move across the site. I'm recommending that the application be approved for zoning bylaw amendment, but passing of the bylaw be deferred until such time that West Perth Council has received notice of decision for provisional consent from the County of Perth. So unless there's any questions from those in attendance or from council, there's nothing further to add to my report.
Okay, thanks, Adam. And at this time, I'll ask if there's anybody in support of this application that wishes to speak at this time. And is there anybody in opposition to this application?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, it's John Arians from the IBI Group.
Yes.
I would like to speak in support. As your planner has indicated, this is more or less zoning amendment to implement a planned severance of a commercial, industrial, farm-related property. Both Silvite and Anderson have been providing very important agricultural support services for many years, and Andersons are the owners of the property and Silvite are the tenants. What is being proposed here is that the tenant now wishes to actually own a portion of their property and the infrastructure that they have. Our challenge is to make sure that the development continues to operate rather seamlessly between the two proponents. As your planner indicated, there will be reciprocal easements back and forth that allow that seamless integration of the two operations as they currently exist. We are putting a lot line between the two properties, but for all intent and purposes, that's purely for ownership purposes, as both operations will continue, as I mentioned, in that seamless fashion. We did think that perhaps rather than doing a zoning amendment, we could go to your committee of adjustment to seek relief from various setbacks and side yards and rear yards, but we felt that there's always one building corner that you're going to miss, or some type of structure or silo or storage facility that we might not have caught by a variance. So perhaps the cleanest way to do it is with a zoning amendment, which basically says that from the new lot line between the two properties, there will not be required any set, regulations governing how close you can go to that particular lot line. So it ensures that seamless operation between these two existing uses. We concur with your staff's recommendation that the bylaw not be adopted until we have secured that severance application. That will be coming forward in the weeks ahead, and we do expect that severance to be successful. Just for council's information, Mr. Mayor and councilors, this is one of 6 properties that we are severing across southwestern Ontario. We're in Huron, we're in Elgin, we're in Chatham-Kent, and this is not an unusual situation. Again, it's 2 existing operators, and we see this more or less as a technical severance, allowing individual ownership. So those are my submissions, Mr. Mayor, and I'd be pleased to answer any questions that the council may have. Thank you.
Okay, any questions from any member on council? Councillor Trinkowski?
I guess my question is to Adam. In this setting, and I'll call it an industrial setting for simplicity, this would be no different than in a residential setting where we're subdividing a semi-detached property through the common wall, correct?
Through you, your worship, yes, a very good analogy. That's correct.
Any other questions? I have one comment I'm going to throw out, and I did talk to Bob about this, but I didn't talk to Adam, so I'm not trying to throw you under the bus here. But anyways, I wonder if this wouldn't be an opportunity to clean up a previous site plan with regards to the elevator to the north of this property, which Andersons currently use. And in the site plan that was agreed to, the traffic in and out of that particular elevator was to be off the highway. And currently the traffic that uses this, and it makes perfectly good sense, goes back through Anderson's property, makes the loop onto, or comes in off the scale, goes back in through Anderson's property to the elevator to the north, and then loops back and onto the scale again. It's a logical place that it should be, but would this not be an opportunity to put an easement in there to just to make legal what's going on?
So just to clarify, are the movements that you're referring to, are they occurring on the subject property that we're dealing with tonight?
Yes.
Then I would perhaps recommend that the council for the municipality, when the planning department from the counties here discussing the severance, perhaps ask whether it's appropriate to impose a requirement for site plan as a condition of the requested severance.
Okay. Any comments, Mr. Ahrens?
I guess the property to the north, the silo you were referring to, Mr. Mayor, it's not owned by Andersons, is it? It's
No.
owned by another company.
That's right.
So in effect, you're asking Andersons then to also grant an easement to the property to the north, which would then entrench their rights to access their silo across the Anderson property.
Yeah, and an easement of some description,
Right.
Because there's still a property line there, and that
Yes.
can be stopped up at any time. It's what's going on now, and as I said before, it's just it's just good common sense to do it that way.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want all that traffic
So-
going on the highway.
So it's on the lands to be retained. It's not on the lands that are being severed. And
That's
what I
right.
could do is I could discuss with my clients when we do go to the land division committee, if we could encumber that retained parcel with a second easement to accommodate the silo to the north. So it's something that we possibly can address, sir.
Okay, well, that's fair. Like this would be the time to do it when we're
Yeah.
splitting things up. It's just the time to address that.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, if there is not, I would like to thank those in attendance for their comments. Should council proceed with the adoption of the zoning bylaw, notice of passing will be provided as prescribed by the Planning Act, and a 20-day appeal period to the local planning appeal tribunal is in existence. So if there is nothing further, motion that we come out of this public meeting at 8:02 would be in order. Councillor Bell, Councillor Marshall, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? Let's try that again. All those in favor? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Very good. Okay, so we will reconvene our council meeting at 8:02, and item, I believe, is report. I believe it's reports and, no? Oh, our first item up is reports, and the first one is from the library board. And Anna Marie, that would be you.
Yes, as I think Jeff sent out an email, the library board is welcoming a new CAO with Caroline Schuberg's retirement. They're going to have about a week overlap at the end of September. New CAO and the retiring one. So we look forward to a new relationship at the West Perth Library. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Anna Marie. Any questions for Councillor Murray? Okay, seeing none. The next report is Operations Manager. Mike?
Good evening, Council and your worship. September's and August's report, health and safety. Some of my employees will be attending a recertification for chainsaw safety this Thursday at the county yard here in Mitchell. And also I have one staff member who will be attending winter maintenance school in late October, along with attending snowplow operator training, which will be also held here in Mitchell. Operations, you can see what we've completed and our ongoing projects for the past couple of months and the upcoming projects. Parks, we're busy grass cutting and general maintenance. We'll be losing Christine at the end of this month, and she'll be returning to the arena early October. Tenders and contracts, we'll be requesting pricing for crushing and stockpiling 15,000 metric tons of grain ore A to be stockpiled at our Staffa pit for our future uses. Our current contracts, our St. George Street Connecting Link project commenced on August 13th, and we are scheduled to be completed the end of next week. We are still completing, we'll be completing our water tie-ins Wednesday and Thursday and Friday for that project. And we are waiting for the concrete curb guys to come in. That's been our holdup and delay there. Also, for our Toronto Street West reconstruction, we'll be tying in the water tomorrow, and our concrete curb, we're waiting for that also. We're hoping it to get laid out later on this week and in next week, and then we'll be hopefully getting our other subcontractors lined up for paving, and it should be open by the end of September. Our rural asphalt paving that we did, it's all completed and shouldered. Our Henry Street project, bridge project is well underway. McLean Taylor is well ahead of schedule. We are just patiently also waiting for a concrete curb layout and that subcontractor to come in to do all the curb work. We're anticipating that to be done late next week. Is there any questions regarding any of the current contracts?
Looks good, Mike.
Okay, seeing none. We received our Owen Sound Highway Maintenance renewal for our annual winter maintenance services for our Class 2 roads here in Mitchell, which are our connecting links, which is Blanchard, Huron, St. George, and Ontario. Their services start mid-October and go to the end of October. To perform these services, it's $23,383.66 plus HST, which is an increase of $458.52 over last year's price. Once again, I recommend that we enter into this contract with the Owen Sound Highway Maintenance Limited Group for the upcoming 20 and 21 season.
Okay. Any questions for Mike on that? Okay, we might as well deal with that. We have a resolution here that Municipality of West Perth accepts the 2020-21 winter operations plan as presented. Actually, no, I want the authorizes the entering into an agreement with Owen Sound Highway Maintenance Limited for winter maintenance services within the connecting link on Highway 8 and 23. Mitchell Ward for $23,383.66 plus HST. And yeah, we'll just, Carla, do you want all three of them dealt with one motion, or do you want them done individually?
Me or this question for me or Carla?
Well, either you or Carla, it doesn't matter. We could lump the three of them together in one
You could
motion.
do them all three together.
Yeah, okay, well then carry on then.
Okay. Our connecting link intake, the MTO just recently came out with intake number 6 grant. It's due November 6th. Once again, I need a council resolution stating what is our highest priority. We've been quite successful in the past for all of these grants, really successful. And we only have potentially 2 remaining items left. And that the highest priority should be Ontario Street, with the second priority being new traffic controllers and signals at both intersections, which would be the second priority. But as of right now, I'd prefer council to have a motion stating that Ontario Street as our highest priority.
Questions for Mike on that? So that would start at
St. David Street all the way out to Hammond Fuels or GoCo Fuels. That's where the connecting link sign is.
Right, right. Okay. All right. If there's no questions, then carry on.
Okay. Also, once again, I present you with our 2020 and 21 winter operations plan. This is our procedural framework and policy to review our winter maintenance operations and to keep it as a live document and before you guys to ensure that we are providing the level of service that our residents are requesting. As you can see, there's just a few minor revisions for this year's plan. It's primarily updating our equipment list and our assigned equipment to our employees, and along with our sidewalk snow clearing policy is a revision. Currently, our sidewalk policy states that we'll do all completed sidewalks north and south, except for we'll clear snow on the sidewalks running on our Queens highways and also in our school districts. Now that we have completed Henry Street, that's a major walkway for all of our residents. We currently are doing Roland Street, but ever since the Upper Thames School has closed, not many residents are using that. So I'm proposing to council to disregard using our plowing Roland Street and switching our plow operations to Henry Street for this upcoming season.
So That's just with regards to the sidewalk. And that was Mitchell Public School that you were talking about, they're closed.
So, yeah, sorry, the
That's
public
okay.
school.
Questions on that? Councillor Trinkowski?
Mike, I had a question. It's about the winter operations plan. What consideration can be given to treating an icy road, say at harvest time? Like last fall was a good example where we had a late harvest season into November, and the agricultural traffic was dealing with icy roads. So I just was wondering, what if someone is requesting an icy road be dealt with, and the response time that they're requesting is earlier than the minimum standard requirement of the plan? Like, how do we compromise to deal with that situation?
Well, under the minimum maintenance standards, once we become aware of an icy road condition, we have to act right away. So we'll have to do something if we become aware of a situation like that. So we'd have to dispense our units out and either sand or salt or pure sand, depending on the current conditions, whether it's gravel or an asphalted roadway.
So what's the procedure then that the person or persons that have the concern would contact the municipality and request maintenance be done on the particular stretch of road in question?
Yeah, so what happened last year is some farmers decided to take off their corn very late. We got winter quite early. Our winter operations didn't start quite. Well, we had to start right at Halloween time. So they usually just call in and then we dispense our trucks out right away.
Okay, that's good to know, because I guess with the propane shortage last fall, some guys had no option but to wait until later into December, and they were into snowy and icy conditions against their own volition. So that's good to know. Thanks.
Yeah, no, we received maybe 3 or 4 calls and we dispatched right away.
Okay, probably a bigger issue in the fall and some falls is mud on the road, more so than ice, but you also deal with that, and you pretty well rely on somebody to call in because you can't be everywhere to know where it's going on. Anyways, we'll give everybody an opportunity to ask Mike some general questions afterwards. That's it for your report, I believe.
We still have leaf pickup to deal with.
Okay,
just a
let's deal
reminder
with
that
that.
we are once again going to be doing the leaf pickup with the placement of bags at the curb. We did a little bit of it last year, but then once again, the snow hit before the leaves fell, which caused quite a bit of a mess. However, I'd like council to once again consider clear bags and paper bags. I know there's a push to get rid of the clear bags, but considering this year, and the clear bags are a lot economical for a lot more residents just because of the cost. So I recommend that we proceed with the current standard of accepting both plastic and paper bags.
Questions for Mike on that? I know I've heard several comments about why we just don't use paper, but I understand your comments there as well. Okay, no questions, then we'll do the recommendations here then, and we're going to do them all together. We accept the 2020-21 winter operations plan as presented, and that we authorize entering into an agreement with the Owen Sound Highway Maintenance Limited for winter maintenance services within the connecting link on Highway 8 and 23 of the Mitchell Ward, Municipality of West Perth for 2021 for $23,383.66 plus HST, and that the Municipality of West Perth applies to MTO Connecting Link program for intake number 6 grant for resurfacing of Ontario Road as its priority. Do we have a mover and seconder for that, for those recommendations? Councillor Rose, Deputy Mayor Wright. Any further questions? All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Any questions for Mike before we go? Mike? Tam? You're muted, Mike.
Yep. Okay. I think we're good now. Just I've had a few comments and concerns, Mike, about boulevards in town, and I know I texted you about the Nelson Street one, but and that's 3 years old. But Henry Street also is recent, and it doesn't look very good. I just wonder if there's a way when we do these projects, if we can ensure that people get good grass going forward, like what was there before. If somebody can look after it for a reasonable amount of time or something, because they're both pretty dead in places.
Yeah. And regarding Nelson Street, like you said, it was 3 years that we've since done that project. So 217 and 218 is when we actually finished the other second portion. So all of 219, the grass was extremely healthy. Yes, I know throughout town, I don't know one resident that's not dealing with some issues with their lawns right now. I've even gone and seen Deputy Mayor Ite regarding my issue. With the issue regarding Henry Street, yes, that sod was laid down in the spring. It is not, we believe it's just dormant because it is not getting the thatch or the brown real dead spots, the soil. The grass is still holding on to it, and it's just probably just hasn't established a deep enough root. And this summer, the way it was with the weather and the heat and the temperature and the lack of rain, I think it was a little too harsh on those stuff. But we have a 2-year maintenance on that contract. So Nelson Street's maintenance contract has well ended. However, we have 2 years on Henry Street, and we'll keep an eye on it.
On Nelson Street, Mike, and I know you've seen this, it seems to be more so on the west side of the street. And you've kind of hit the nail on the head. Any place where there's trees, the grass seems to be okay. And where there's not trees, that's where it has died off. And yeah, I don't know if it's a heat thing or a grub thing or you know what's going on there. But it's not just one property owner. Like you can start right at the corner and go all the way to the end of that street, and there's spots in there. Like there are some properties where there's nothing, you know,
Yeah.
and there's other properties, if it's treed, it's not too bad.
Yeah, it's very patchy.
Yeah, yeah. Deputy Mayor Ite.
If when we do this, we should never let them put sod down, because sod without maintenance has a life expectancy of 3 years. Straight Kentucky bluegrass. I sodded my front lawn. I overseeded it that year, because the Kentucky bluegrass will die out in 3 years. And you have dead sod, no matter what you do. We should always be either spraying or planting, getting them to put grass seed and topsoil down, because sod will die without maintenance. It's a fact. Not yours, Mike. You got grubs.
There's a maintenance thing with planting or seeding it down as well. Like you've got to be sure that somebody's going to water it all the time too until it takes off, whether that's possible or not. Other questions? We're good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Moving on then. I see Darcy's sitting in the wings here. So Darcy.
Thank you, Mayor McKenzie. My first report is the activity report. Just going through it quickly, staff are working on preparing the community center for the ice operations. Our facility rentals have begun in basically all the facilities. They are slow due to the restrictions, but we're working with the facility rentals we can and opening up for as much as we can. And we've also listed some of the program ideas that we have for pretty much all the age groups, trying to use some partnerships within the community and see what we can get as a programming line. And Abby's been working very hard on that. And then as well as I did highlight our submission for the youth friendly community in 2021. So I'll gladly take any questions.
Any questions for Darcy? Okay, let's start with Councillor Tam.
Hi, Darcy. Do we have, I've been hearing things about hockey registration and that. Is there any costs being passed on from the municipality?
No. other than the regular ice rental costs, there's no additional costs COVID related pushed on by the municipality.
Okay, I'm hearing some high numbers, and maybe it's because of low registration numbers or uncertainty or whatever, but I don't know if they've decided for sure, but there's some talk. I'm sure you're aware of what they're talking about.
Yeah, I'm not completely sure, but I have talked to minor hockey and let them know that there'll be no additional charges as far as anything unordinary COVID related coming from the municipality.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Trinkowski, you had a question?
Yes, Darcy, I didn't see anything in your report that included an update on the current status of the tennis court project. Could you update us on that, please?
Yeah. So we just put the first coat of asphalt on Friday. So just the first lift. They're planning to work on the second lift possibly today, but due to rain, they didn't. So that'll be done in the next couple days. Everything else is in line. We don't have a firm completion date yet. We're just waiting on a couple contractors, but it's looking like within the next 2 to 3 weeks, it'll all be completed and we'll be open for business.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Darcy? Okay, carry on.
Okay, and my next report is the community center standby generator tender results. The results are all there. I will highlight that we did give the two options. Just one is the CSA compliant, a 28215 compliant generator, and the other one is not. We did that just to see the difference and see if we could get the CSA 28215. It was recommended to us. And as you can see, we did manage to get that well within budget. So my recommendation would be to award the tender to Unitech Electric for the CSA 28215 generator at $70,500 excluding HST.
Okay, thank you, Darcy. So you've heard the motion, the standby generator from where am I looking here? Got to find out from Tashudi anyways, in the amount of $70,500. Mover and seconder for that. Councillor Harold and Councillor Tam. Any questions on that? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, anything else, Darcy?
I think so.
We're good. Okay. All right. Next up then is Carla.
Yet the report I have in front of you is just a request under section 78 for the north branch of the Schellenberger drain. And my recommendation is to appoint RJ Burnside and Associates for improvements to the north branch of the Schellenberger drain for property located at Part Lot 4, Concession 2, Fullerton Ward. So that's going with our current rotating engineer schedule.
Okay. All right. Do we have somebody willing to move that recommendation? Councillor Murray and Councillor Matheson. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you. Nothing else, Carla? Everything's good?
Everything's good.
Okay. CAO report. Jeff?
Okay, I have a report in the council package dealing with declaring property surplus to the needs of the municipality and preparing stop up and close bylaws. The report starts on page 286. There are a series of maps that support it, and the steps that are recommended in the report follow our bylaw for the purchase and sale of land. So I'll be happy to answer any questions. I think the maps are in your report further down.
Okay, questions for Jeff on that? Don't see any. So we do have a recommendation here, and it's a fairly lengthy one. Anyways, that we declare the lands known as Park Lot 65-341 and designated as Part 1 and 2 of Reference Plan 44R 4520 in West Mitchell and part of Lot 15 and part of Lot 16 West Mitchell Road concession, part known as road allowance extension of Road 163A North, and parts 1, 2, and 3, part of East Street, Plan 341, known as a portion of Water Street North from Ontario Road to Whirl Creek, to be surplus to the needs of the municipality of West Perth, and that council hereby directs the clerk to prepare the necessary bylaw for council consideration at the next regular meeting. That council hereby directs the clerk to initiate the process to prepare the notice to declare the land surplus and stop up and close the unused portion of the extension of Road 163A lands and unused portion of lands known as Water Street North, south of Ontario Road lands. And that staff be and hereby authorized to proceed with the sale of lands in accordance with the Municipality of West Perth procedures for land sales and purchase procedure bylaw pending the successful completion of the stopping up and closing of the noted unopened and allowances outlined in this report. So mover and seconder for that. Councillor Marshall and Councillor Matheson. Questions? Okay. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. Thank you. All right. Two notices of correspondence. The first one is from Rob and Ann Sawyer with regards to the bell in the fire hall tower. Any comments on that? I wonder at this time if it's maybe a little premature until we know how much actual noise comes out of it. There are baffles on the tower, and it might not be as bad as what we or what they are anticipating. So maybe it's kind of something that we can leave until it starts to operate, and then if it's going to be too loud, we can look at it at that time and maybe adjust it somehow at that point in time. But as of right now, we don't know even how loud it's going to be. So I wonder if we just leave that one for now. The other one is the earth notice of the annual meeting. And it is, I believe, this Thursday, I think it is. And so we need to appoint a voting member to that, if I remember right. And I'm looking here, normally we open it up that there's a couple can go. I guess there's really no reason, I don't think that anybody, it's a virtual meeting. So are we allowed to have more than just the voting member and our member of Earth on that annual meeting?
Yes.
No, okay, all right. So first of all, I guess the first thing we do is select our voting rep to be on that annual meeting, and then we'll just see who else wants to go to that. So looking for a motion to appoint somebody to be our voting rep. Councillor Trinkowski?
I move that we appoint Nicholas Fink as our voting representative.
Nicholas is our actual member on there.
Oh, okay. So we have to do someone else then?
Normally we do, yeah.
Okay.
Can I just interject, Mayor McKenzie, that as a general rule, we've appointed the mayor, but every year we come back and we ask council for their wishes of who to appoint. But as a general rule, the mayor has been appointed as our voting rep in recent years.
Doesn't have to though. Councillor Tam. You're muted.
Sorry, I'd move that we appoint Mayor McKenzie.
We have a seconder for that. Councillor Harold. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. Okay, so who else would like to join this virtual meeting on Thursday night? I believe it's at 7 o'clock. Councillor Harold, Deputy Mayor Wright. Anybody else? Okay. So I assume Carla has noted those are two additional names. And I don't know if you got the information. Yeah, it was in our package. So you'll have the Zoom connection information there that you can join. Okay, moving on to council reports, and first one here is Upper Thames minutes from June 23rd. Any questions for Anna Marie on that, or anything you want to highlight, Anna Marie?
Not necessarily. Staff at the last meeting, the Conservation Authority's staff were pleasantly surprised at how busy the Conservation Authority areas were. People were really making use of those areas. They were very important this year. In general, staff is constantly assessing how this year is relating to our budget and reworking that. So we'll have a clearer idea in a month or two. That's pretty much it.
Okay, thanks, Anna Marie. Question, Deputy Mayor Wright.
I could ask you this any night I'm there, but I was a Perth South person who came to me, of course, because I didn't know where the line was. The tree damage from the bugs down on the Thames it would be the south end of Perth. This person came to me and said that it's extremely bad. Do they have somebody at Upper Thames who goes around and looks at it? It'll be, I forget what that bug is called.
Ash borer.
Yeah.
The emerald ash borer.
Yeah. So, or not the emerald ash borer. No, it's the moth or whatever that's killing all the trees.
Oh, gypsy moth.
Gypsy moth. And this person was in the store and said, you know, there's a ton of damage down there. I said, well, you're from Perth South, you used to have a rep, but I would bring it up. Does Upper Thames have a person who goes and looks at that stuff, or my picture on the bottom left came on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just recommend that they have the forestry contact. So one of the forestry technicians or the forester, if they contact the number on the website, the email addresses or the number, one of them can come out and gives them advice about how to mitigate. So, and if you want to direct them to me or the office, we can get the name for them. But there's an email that they can send an email to or a call.
Just on that subject, Doug, they had a lot of damage done up along Grand Bend, so Lambton and Huron, and basically the trees were whittled and had no leaves on them, and they've all come back now. The leaves are on them, and they seem to up there. They went for the oak trees as much as anything, but I've seen pictures of before and after, and the trees had no leaves on them, and Mother Nature, I guess, looks after itself to a certain extent, and the leaves came back out again. So I'm not sure, you know, what the ramifications from that'll be. There'll be some damage, no doubt. Okay, no further questions for Anna Marie. So I have a recommendation here then that West Perth accepts the reports from staff and councillors as presented, and further that all committee minutes and correspondence not specifically dealt with by resolution be received and filed. Councillor Marshall, Councillor Murray, thank you. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Good. So we have a number of bylaws, 6 to be exact. The first bylaw is 55 for drainage works on the Haggerty Drain. Bylaw 56 is a bylaw to provide drainage works on the Wasman Drain. And bylaw 57 is on the Wiles Drain. And those bylaws would have 2 readings, I believe, Carla?
Yeah, if I can just add a comment here, if we want to maybe separate them, because Councillor Trentowski has asked that he's declared a pecuniary interest against for bylaw 56 2020. So if we separated that out, and as well as during the public meeting, the recommendation was to defer bylaw Z 238 as well until county planning has brought the consent application to council.
Okay, so just to clarify then, Carla, so 238, you want first and second reading on that, or you just want it deferred?
We'll just remove it from the resolution. So if we want to do bylaw 55, 56, 57, first and second reading. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong sheet. I'm making it more confusing here for you.
Let's do them individually then. What's wrong with that?
Nothing. We can do that.
Sure. Okay, so bylaw 55 is the Haggerty drain, and we'll do first and second reading on that one.
That's correct.
So mover and seconder for first and second reading. Councillor Trinkowski, Councillor Matheson, all those in favor? Okay, that's carried. The next one is bylaw 56, and Councillor Trinkowski has declared a conflict on that one. So the Wasman drain, first and second readings on that drainage report. Deputy Mayor Ait and Councillor Tam, all those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. The next one is the Wiles main drain and Anderson branch improvement. So first and second readings on that one as well. Councillor Matheson, Councillor Rose, all those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. The bylaw 58 is an agreement with the Ministry of Transportation, and we can do, I'm thinking we can do 3 readings on that one, right, Carla?
That and bylaw Z 237, 2020.
Right. Okay, so bylaw 58, first, second, and third reading on that one, and that's the connecting link grant proposal. So mover and seconder for that, Councillor Bell and Councillor Murray. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. The next one is bylaw 237. And this is with regards to the property in the Hibbert Ward in Dublin. And that is 3 readings as well, right, Carla?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay, so first, second, and third reading on that one. Councillor Rose, and don't everybody come around, it's Councillor Murray, thank you. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. And we're going to, we're just going to leave 238 for now. Okay, so announcements, straightforward there, just upcoming councilor meetings. 21st of September will be our next meeting. Any notices of motion? Any other business? No closed session tonight that I'm aware of. Confirmatory bylaw. And I'm going to look at Jeff or Carla on this one because I believe that Councillor Trinkowski, think he has to declare a conflict on the confirmatory bylaw as well. Am I correct? Yep, I think I am. So yeah. Okay,
yep,
so
I'll leave.
So a mover and seconder for the confirmatory bylaw. Councillor Rose, Councillor Marshall, thank you. All those in favor? That's carried. And then the last one is a motion that we do adjourn at 8:40. Councillor Harold, Councillor Rose, all those in favor? We're adjourned.